Hey guys, it's Payne. I'm really excited to introduce a brand new show to Bet the Board that combines sports and alternative investing, the very first of its kind. Sports betting and collectibles converging is inevitable. Let me tell you why. Sports cards and memorabilia are another way to get money into the market and do it without limit restrictions or the substantial hold you're accustomed to with sports betting. Whether you collected cards as a kid and are looking to get back into the hobby, this podcast is for you. If you've been collecting cards for years, this podcast will make you think and operate more efficiently. Are you in real estate? The parallels to investing in sports cards and memorabilia are uncanny. You're on Wall Street. Well, listen close. The best sports cards have outperformed the S&P 500 by 6x since 2013. And during the 2008 market crash, sports cards held up better than the S&P 500. Bet the Board, in conjunction with PWCC, presents Cardboard Chat, an entertaining, sophisticated, and informative podcast that combines sports, analytics, betting, cards, and memorabilia. Without further ado, this is Cardboard Chat with Jesse Craig, a leading figure in the collectible space, and me, Payne. You getting all packed up for the mint?
I'll pack that morning.
Jesus.
I'm always a last minute packer.
It's only a couple of days. That's one of those things where you can kind of just throw a bunch of crap into a suitcase, come out wrinkled, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of wrinkled clothing, but sure.
Packing the morning of is wild. You always forget something.
Nah, I've done this enough times. It's like clockwork.
Beautiful. Okay, so you're going to be out there on Thursday or Friday?
Thursday through Sunday.
Thursday through Sunday. So I'm sure you'll have some peeps stop by and see you. I know your schedule's busy, but yeah, maybe give them a little wave, a couple seconds of your time.
Oh yeah, I got that dialed in.
Beautiful. We're going to transition quickly to a topic that I think is pretty interesting: NFL free agency impact on football cards. And I know we've discussed this a little bit. We had, the free agency tampering period started on March 13th. And then 2 days later, on the 15th, you could actually start signing some players. And it was a frenzy early on, and certainly guys will sign from now until the draft in late April. But typically after that first wave or two, things start to settle. We thought this was a good time to talk about some of the NFL free agents that have signed and the potential impact they could have, with their football cards, the football market in general. There's also a domino effect to potentially think about as well, right? Aaron Rodgers might not just get the boost from being in a big city like New York, but we've seen what that's meant to Jordan Love's market the last 2 months. Derek Carr signs in New Orleans. NFC conference, ton of question marks. Jesse, your boy Jimmy G in Vegas. We have Baker Mayfield possibly getting a chance at starting in Tampa, although the Buccaneers GM says he loves Kyle Trask. And then some reports surfaced a few days ago about Tampa taking Will Levis if he were to fall to 19. Floor is yours. Are there a couple free agent moves that you feel will have some type of impact on the card market? And let us know if that's going to be a positive or negative.
There's a lot to unpack here, to be honest with you. I think we have a whole show about the quarterback carousel that is the NFL this year. You mentioned a few of them. Don't forget Sean Payton going into Denver and how that's going to affect Russell Wilson. Who knows? Maybe Russell Wilson can make a bounce back. His cards are at all-time lows. So if you want an upside play with minimal risk, because I think they can't go much lower than they are right now, Russell Wilson's a potential candidate. Even Deshaun Watson, it'd be interesting to see what happens, with the Browns, him getting, full off season, knocked off the rust towards the end of last season. I'm really curious what he's going to do there. You mentioned Jimmy G at the Raiders. I kind of like that. I'm not going to lie. Him and Devontae Adams.
Reuniting with his old coordinator?
His old coordinator, and I've never been a big Jimmy G fan as a Niner fan, but it could be a good fit there. Could be a good fit. Now, the Aaron Rodgers thing, he's not going to pull a Tom Brady. I'm sorry, Jets fans. He's not gonna go in there, and he's not gonna he's not going to win a championship.
Emphatic.
It's not going to happen. Okay, can I get your take on it?
Well, first of all, he's not there, but the AFC is absolutely loaded. And it continues to be loaded, right? We move Aaron Rodgers from the NFC to the AFC, and it's like, Jesus criminy. Like, who the heck is left in the NFC? It is an absolute gauntlet. And this is kind of the conversation I've had with a lot of card guys and a lot of people, that are sports fans. And I don't know how we go about this, but the idea of like who the up-and-coming quarterback is, Patrick Mahomes, like he's cemented now with 2 Super Bowls, 2 MVPs, 2 Super Bowl MVPs. But you guys,
he's the guy.
Well, you have Herbert, you have Burrow. But I guess where I'm going with this is like, do you put a freaking asterisk on these guys? Because they're all attempting, specifically Patty Mahomes, right? He's attempting to get to 7. Right? It's like he's going through an absolute gauntlet where we know Brady's the GOAT, but you start to think about some of the quarterbacks in his own division back then and in the AFC back then. It's like, the AFC East is, just an absolute nightmare. The conference in general is an absolute nightmare. So I think to your point, like it's not necessarily Aaron Rodgers isn't going to perform well. It's that what he has to go through.
Yeah.
Or are you saying you're done? You're out on Aaron Rodgers. You're over this.
I'm out on Aaron Rodgers.
You're not a guy who likes to just live by himself for 4 days in the dark and
I was going to say I don't think the 4 days of silence is going to fix anything that is. But look, he's still a top probably 15 QB in the league, but to put him in the upper echelon of a potential contender, I don't see it happening. I think there's other interesting things that are going to happen this year, like what's Kyler Murray going to do with Arizona, right? Like that's a big question.
Yeah,
mark.
Interesting head coach. I didn't necessarily love that hire, going with Jonathan Gannon, a defensive-minded head coach. When you have a franchise quarterback, the rumor is multiple ligaments in that knee were torn, and he won't actually be ready for the start of the NFL season. So that was kind of my thought process there when you think about Derek Carr potentially, right? Like odds are favoring C.J. Stroud to end up in Carolina. But day one of the 2023 season, Derek Carr's the best quarterback in the NFC South, right? The Saints are day one the best team in the NFC
What a
South,
terrible
right?
division. Good
and
Lord.
the betting odds will reflect that. And the NFC is the inferior conference. Dallas is making some moves. I like the Cooks addition. San Francisco has the most talent. What's that quarterback situation look like? I saw John Lynch come out today and endorse Brock Purdy.
Purdy's not going to be ready.
Oh,
He's not going to be ready, though.
Well, that's the question. But he endorsed him saying, he would be that guy. It's like we've thrown Trey Lance to the side. I think the Trey Lance experiment's really interesting just because internally what I've been told is that they thought he was a better runner. They thought he was a little bit more athletic. He's a little bit more plodding. You mentioned Kyler. He's probably not going to start the season. So the door is open for the Saints to be solid. Let's see if Derek Carr can kind of prove the naysayers wrong and provide that little boost.
It's a new start for Derek Carr, and sometimes you see that kind of rejuvenate someone's career, just getting a change of scenery. So it's possible that happens. But let's also not forget the guy that went to the damn Super Bowl, right? Can Jalen Hurts back up an amazing season and make another deep run for the Eagles? It felt like kind of the Cinderella story of the year, the unexpected team to play extremely well all season. Can they back it up? And I can't. I mean, from a statistical standpoint, from what you're seeing, how do you feel about the Eagles going into next year?
Metrically, he was very good. We saw him start to be able to throw to all parts of the field. When they busted out against Tampa Bay, the defense was very much forcing him to throw outside. And because he would refuse to throw into the middle of the field, and then you go and pick up an A.J. Brown, and that certainly elevated his game. And the question mark that I would have there is you've lost your offensive coordinator. You've lost your defensive coordinator. You're starting to lose some of that talent. And I think the schedule will be a little bit more difficult, but that was very much a byproduct of facing one of the weakest schedules in all of the league. But I think this will be a big year for Jalen Hurts. He's looking to get paid. We will definitely have more conversations with movement post-draft leading up to the NFL season. I think the other thing that we have to think about, which is really interesting, that card guys might not think about as much, but we certainly have the crossover audience, which is gambling. And when we do our preview series, schedule. It matters so much. And the common guy will go and look at his team's schedule for his favorite team, and start to look at how teams finished last year. Not really the best indicator. You want to look at what the betting market is saying this team is facing this upcoming season by win totals or future pricing. That'll give you a little bit better of an idea of how difficult that schedule is, because the narrative always is, you're purchasing your quarterbacks in the offseason. You don't want that risk of injury. We're dumping at the National. We're dumping, using PWCC's auction house in late August and early September before the season comes. But if you're able to see the start of that schedule where you're saying, oh my God, it lines up perfectly here. The Chargers are going to be favored in their first 4 games. I'd rather sell Justin Herbert after the Chargers start 4-0 than at the National. I might pick up another 25%. So having this conversation again once the schedules get aligned, I think makes a lot of sense. But I got to be honest with you, like that Aaron Rodgers conversation, is really interesting from the Jordan Love perspective. If you remember episode 13 of Cardboard Chat, we talked post Super Bowl about quarterbacks to purchase that had the potential to increase 25% from that moment until the start of the 2023 football season, and started talking to like a lot of guys that were, collecting modern stuff or had shops, and they made me feel like I was going to be completely wrong there, and I was kind of hesitant to talk Jordan Love. But I have to tell you, and I don't know if now is the time to buy, but 7 weeks ago we talked about this. We referenced the BGS 910 National Treasures. That was the specific card reference. They were selling for $3,100 7 weeks ago. 2 days ago, one just comped for $6,100. So we've seen the double up in the last 7 weeks there. I don't know if it becomes official when Aaron Rodgers officially goes to the Jets, if that market takes another little bit of a leap for Jordan Love. It feels like everyone now knows Jordan Love's there, but maybe there's a couple extra percentages to be had if he looks good in camp.
Yeah.
But we did a good work there, getting the 100% double up in 7 weeks for our listeners.
Yeah, I think, tying this back to cards like you have, the biggest thing to be aware of is that in August, there's going to be hype around a lot of quarterbacks because of how many moving pieces there have been. So when determining if you're someone that wants to limit risk and sell in the preseason and sell off hype, which I've done in the past and works really well to limit risk, but you also limit upside. I've made great plays on Trey Lance and bad plays on Jalen Hurts, but I've made bad plays on Hurts as well. I sold Hurts too early. I didn't think he was going to perform to the level he did, and I'm okay with that, right? Like I have a method to my madness.
If we got you the schedule, though, you would have saw that the Eagles started with a cotton soft schedule.
It's possible. Yeah. It's possible. I still didn't necessarily believe that. I mean, I obviously didn't believe he was going to make the run that he did to that extent. Even with the soft schedule, they overperformed, in my opinion, last year, even with the soft schedule. But that being said, he played unbelievable. And I would have never guessed that they would have done, made the Super Bowl and done what they did. But that's what you need to look at. You need to, think forward a little bit. Who's going to have the most hype going into the season? Who can you buy right now that might make a 20-30% uptick because of X, Y, and Z going into August? Who's getting overlooked at the moment? The news breaks out of movements and this and that, and you see upticks. Wait it out, right? Wait it out. Like, I would not have bought Derek Carr a week or 2 or 3 weeks after the move made to the Saints. In a couple weeks, it might be a good time. Maybe wait. Don't do it right after the draft. People are going to be hype on something after the draft. So another play could be a quarterback that has potential to get some hype going into the season. And if you think that team is going to draft a first round wide receiver that people are going to get excited about, well, there's maybe a little opportunity there. But I would wait till after the draft from a hype perspective. Always, like I've said this before, but you make your money on the buys, and then the timing of the sell is what really matters. So just make sure you limit your risk if that's the path you want to take, or if you really do believe in someone, you think that who's going to be the next Jalen Hurts next year, well, best of luck to you.
Timing is everything, which is your key point there, and I think that's a good chance now to go to your undervalued selection.
Let's go, let's go, let's go. It's time, folks. That's right. We're going to discuss undervalued and overvalued cards, or maybe even some memorabilia assets, potentially some players. Is it time to buy, sell, or hold on to these assets or players? We'll give you some opinions and back it up.
All right, I was a little surprised to see the name that came across my desk. I'm not going to ruin it for our listeners, but I will say this. With 78 games left in the regular season, Joel Embiid is now the favorite to win MVP, minus 150. Jokic now out to plus 200. Giannis creeping behind the two big fellas at 5-1. We know what Jokic brings to the table metrically, something we discussed recently at a high level. So are you going out on a limb here and calling your shot that you believe the Denver Nuggets have a chance to win the NBA championship?
I do.
Ooh.
I think the West is a mess. The West is a mess, and as long as Murray and Jokic can show up in the playoffs, which is the big question mark, I think they've got a shot. Now, this leads us into my undervalued of the week is Nikola Jokic. I don't think I need to say anything else. Segment over.
That's it.
I'm kidding. That's it. No, but look, I know he's a big man. I know he's not fast. I know he's not muscular. He doesn't look the part. But holy shit, that guy is skilled. I get so much enjoyment out of sitting there and watching him play because he's so unique. And I hope the casual fan, and I kind of consider myself a casual fan, maybe a little bit elevated, but not much. I'm not going to put myself on that pedestal. But I wish the casual fan would watch it and understand what this guy does. He has players playing alongside of him that are at all-time records for their performance from almost any metric you can think of. And he, in my opinion, because of how he plays and how he manages the game, it's a ton of fun to watch him, especially someone that slow, be able to maneuver these incredible athletes in the NBA and be a back-to-back MVP winner, still be in the conversation this year. I think Embiid will win it this year, but to still be in the conversation as a top 3 MVP candidate. They've got the best record in the West. Murray's getting back into a rhythm. And if they win a championship this year, it's going to be huge for the Joker's brand. And I want people to realize that. I know it's a big man, but they don't get enough love. So goddamn, go give him some love.
You're allowed to curse. This is a safe space. I think this is... you're going to get my endorsement in terms of what he means to the Denver Nuggets. And I think when we talked about this a couple weeks back, like metrically, his player efficiency rating for his career only trails Michael Jordan at this point. It's just a guy that's playing in a small market in Denver, plays on the West Coast late night. The East Coast sports beat doesn't get to see a ton of them, and he doesn't play above the rim. So it doesn't attract a lot of people to him, but I believe, hopefully the playoffs come around, people get to see him showcase his skill set. And I think what's really interesting, you start to look at the West, right? Paul George goes down, which that team was starting to play quite well. Let's see what the Golden State Warriors have in store. They're starting to get their game going a little bit here, but this is interesting to me.
They could win on the road.
Yes.
Good Lord.
Yes. I think this is interesting because the key there is Jamal Murray looking healthy.
Yeah.
That the knee looks like that's in the past. And so that'll be an interesting play for him to see if he can help guide Jokic to a championship, which is something he would need, right? Just backs up the MVPs.
And the third piece of that puzzle is MPJ coming in and playing, at a caliber that he's capable. We've seen him play at. And if he can perform as well, and now you have a 3-headed monster with those guys in the playoffs, they're going to be a tough out in a 7-game series. I'm just calling it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. Man, that's interesting. I always have a tough time buying some basketball at this point, but I really like Jokic. I'm going in a different direction. And it's probably not going to be shocking to you. And I think we've referenced this specific player a couple times on this podcast about being undervalued. And I think when you combined the nature of us believing that he's not quite respected enough in the card market, and then you think about some of his best cards coming from some of the best sets ever created, it has this long-term upside that I think is undeniable. And I'm talking about Peyton Manning. Some of his rookie inserts because to me that's the best of both worlds. I think Peyton Manning rookie inserts and a few others, within that rookie, you got the playoff contenders. Those to me make some long-term fantastic plays. 1998, obviously Peyton Manning's rookie year, so you have PMGs to 50, even the one-of-one Gem Masters. Credentials, you have the Showcase Roseros, the brilliant 24-karat golds, the golden anniversary refractors to 5, the rubies, platinum medallions, masterpieces. Just all of the best and most popular 90s inserts coincide with Peyton Manning's rookie year. And I think every 35 to 55-year-old either grew up wanting these cards or finally had enough money to buy them in their early to mid-30s. They're serial numbered, right, which, never being made again. You know how many were made. I think the young collectors of today are kind of being taught what they are, not just by podcasts like this, but companies are remaking them, right? And allowing people to go back and discover how much better the originals were. And then, the first year of contenders in 1998 as well. I think that Manning's wildly undervalued. So I think when you compare or combine rather, all of the great inserts of the 90s with Peyton Manning's rookie year, it makes a world of sense. And then thinking about, our space a little bit. And we know Manning's on-field accolades, right? Records, Super Bowls, two different organizations, Super Bowl MVP, all of that. Football in the South meaning more. The data obviously clearly supports that statement. Tennessee, the Vols starting to improve as a program. But now Manning's on TV at least once a week, calling Monday Night Football games.
Still relevant.
Entrenching himself in the sports card world. He's going to be at the Mint, apparently, this week. He's doing gambling commercials.
Yeah, we're supposed to have dinner.
Are you really?
No, I'm kidding.
I was going to say, that would be interesting.
It would be fun.
Doing gambling commercials for Caesars. And then I think eventually, right, and this is probably divulging too much, ESPN is going to turn itself into a sports book, knowing they've built this massive user base.
That's inevitable.
Right? And that's the advantage. They've built this massive user base through ESPN Plus. You would expect Peyton Manning to be highly involved in that. So everything kind of intertwines here for me. Rookie year, part of the great sets, iconic player with records involved in both the card and betting spaces. So long term, I really like Peyton Manning's rookie inserts to grow extremely well.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's kind of the perfect storm having someone like Peyton Manning be a rookie in 98, because you already had a few years or a couple years of really important inserts that started getting developed in the space around that time. And, he got to ride that wave, no different than a Tim Duncan. But, probably the most accomplished college football player of all time to win multiple Super Bowls. His football accolades from college all the way through the NFL are incredible. If you just Wikipedia Peyton Manning, the list of awards this guy has won is baffling. 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time NFL MVP, 2-time Offensive Player of the Year, 14-time Pro Bowl, yada, 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 all the accolades. He is an absolute stud. You mentioned him being on TV still. He's still relevant. And then there's just all those amazing brands from the 90s that are so nostalgic for the real core collector in our space. And they're so important to what trading cards have become. I think this is a great play for undervalued. I just don't think he gets nearly enough love that he should.
Beautiful. I like the stamp of approval there. It felt like a no-brainer. In terms of no-brainer, that is not this upcoming segment, because some of the cards you've picked this week for Magic Number are very, very interesting.
Pick a number, any number, whatever it may be. We got a number inside, but we want a magic number. All right, this is where we're going to pick a few big cards that enter in an auction over the next couple of days, and we're going to try and guess how much they sell for in advance. Throw out a number. We got one too.
Your boy, Dame Dalla, the first card that you picked. 2012 Panini Prism Gold. Damian Lillard rookie, serial number to 10 in PSA 10 condition. We've talked about this set a bunch. Give our listeners a little glimpse into what this set means, into the Damian Lillard brand. I know you're near and dear to that, although you did miss his 71-point performance. We won't hold that against you. But talk to us a little
Thanks
bit
for bringing
about
that up
this
again.
card and where you think it lands.
Yeah, first year Prism, 2012. It's gold. Everybody loves gold. What is interesting about this card that actually limits it from being worth more than it is there's only 10 made, but there's actually 6 PSA 10s. This was not a condition-sensitive card per se, so you kind of expect these to get a high grade when you're submitting them to a grading company. And PSA's graded a handful of them, and there's 6 out of 10 of the cards that were produced are already in PSA 10 form. So that's going to limit the upside on this card. But look, it's Lillard. He's clutch, right? Like everyone knows it's Dame time at the end of the game. He's an incredible scorer, especially for his size. I think he's improved on the defensive end of the court. I love, Portland's my second team behind the Lakers, but I love how loyal Lillard is. He's had opportunities to go elsewhere, has not done it. I mean, he could benefit from a big market. He could have gone to LA, didn't do it. But he's a guy that the city loves and rallies around. And if the front office can figure it out, they've been absolutely atrocious in Portland, in my opinion. But if they can figure it out, and they can make a good playoff run again and give him more opportunities to have more Dame time in the playoffs, I think that'll help his brand with his cards quite a bit. So I wish the Blazers were playing better. They've had a pretty nasty run. He missed a little time, but I love watching the guy play. He's one of my favorite players in the league to watch, alongside of the Steph Currys and the Lukas and the Jaws and Zion when he's healthy and LeBron. But all that said, the card's sitting at about $4,500 right now before the buyer's premium. I've got this one finishing at $12,350.
Ooh, okay. You're making this tough on me. I think what was interesting, and my brain immediately gravitated to a different thought, but there's this. Obviously, it's a groundbreaking set, right? And it has the potential to be thought about to some degree in the same vein as the original PMG greens in basketball. But the differentiator for me is the condition that you mentioned. Like the PMGs were just so condition sensitive. These ones aren't. But the younger crowd who grew up with this being the landmark set is going to feel about it a certain way, maybe a little bit more than us being a little bit older. But Lillard's rookie is one of the key cards in the set. But in terms of comp on this card, it could be lower than expected for the fact that basketball season in Portland is virtually over. They are 4.5 games back of the play-in with just 8 to go. There's reports the Blazers are strongly considering shutting Lillard down for the rest of the season.
Right.
Card market-wise, this will be the 4th copy to publicly sell in the open market since November 17th. I'm surprised you didn't. I saw the last comp, and it was at your house. I thought you were going to come in around that number, and I was going to nestle in around your number. I had this at 12.6. What was your number? And maybe we can. I'll navigate a little differently, just because I don't want it to be too close.
If you say 12.6, keep it at 12.6. I'm at 12.350. I'll take the under. You take the over.
Okay, you're sure. Okay, yeah.
No,
My number is 12. I wholeheartedly thought you were coming in around 15 on this one. Okay.
Look, we're playing prices right here, basically.
Yes.
I mean, that's really what this is. It should be interesting. And to the other points that you made, obviously I took those into account as well. The season's wrapping up. Blazers have been on a bad run. They're likely not making the playoffs or even the play-in game, and that's going to likely affect pricing when this thing closes on Sunday.
Let me ask you this, because this is an interesting conversation, because you're very close to it. I wonder, and this is probably a stupid thought. We know big markets, championships would obviously propel Dame to another stratosphere. But of the players of this era that don't end up winning a championship, that play at this level to even be talked about as one of the best in this era, I wonder long term if that actually helps his brand staying in one place. Because a lot of guys, right, and collectors hate the super teams, hate the easy championships. And I wonder if Dame being so loyal actually helps the brand relative to other players on his par that don't win a championship as well.
I think it helps the fans of that market fall in love with somebody more.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Like, I respect him more than other guys that wouldn't win just because of, what's
I do
become,
too. I do too. I'm not sure if it really like long term,
Resonates
like short
with
term
collectors, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Long term, I'm not sure if it resonates. Short term, sure. I feel the same way. Will I remember that in 15 years when I'm looking at buying a car? I see a Lillard card pop up. For me, because I live in Portland, yeah, maybe. But look at the negative connotation that Durant has, and he's won multiple championships, right? Yeah. So there are people that I think it hurts more than the bouncing around definitely hurts. More than it helps winning championships, in my opinion. It's not good for your brand, and there's a large negative connotation with it. Now, I'm just calling out that I don't know if it's really going to carry value down the road for those that do stay put. The super loyal fans of that city, I'm sure it does for them. The question's going to be, are there going to be monster collectors in our space from Portland Metro? And I don't know if that's going to be. I don't know if that's going to be a hot market.
Two players that are absolutely beloved in a big city is the next card that we're going to be discussing here. 2017 Immaculate Collection dual auto of the great Bill Russell and Larry Bird. Serial number to 25 copies. It's in BGS 85 condition. Just what a beautiful card.
Oh,
great card for Celtics fans. Bill Russell and Larry Bird on the same card, both with bold blue on-card gem mint autographs. There's this awesome gold foil striping on this card that sometimes impacts the autograph. If you hit it, it won't stay bold on that section. This does not have that issue. It started hotter than I expected. We're now up to 1,200 with the BP as we record this. 6 days left to get your bids in. Auctions end Sunday, April 2nd at PWCC. There are 156 different products with Larry Bird and Bill Russell on the same card with a serial number. And many of the best ones are mid-2000s. There was an early 2000 Upper Deck Legends Master Collection of the two that are serial numbered to 20. It kind of feels like the card's perception, right? The player's perception outweighs what this will actually sell for. I saw a raw copy do about $2,500 back in December.
Yep.
The middle card, by the way, gave me lots of problems last week. I wasn't even on the same planet with that Honus Wagner. Good for you. You won that one in a landslide. And I bid on it.
You even tried to help your cause.
I got to be honest. Well, I planned on winning it, and then all of a sudden, the college basketball games were at 2 o'clock and 5 o'clock Eastern, and I was like out by 9 o'clock. I was like an old 78-year-old man. I was in bed very early. I've got ADD, so you've sidetracked me into a different dimension here. Let me kind of refocus. The duel, Bill Russell, Larry Bird. I'm going to come in at $2,701 on this one. $2,701.
I guess today is the Price is Right.
Really?
So, yeah, we're very close. I saw the same comp you did from a raw perspective a few months ago. I think the lower and middle tier market is pretty stable, but when you buy a raw card, most of the time the over under from a value perspective is about an 8.5. So I don't think we're too far off. I do like this card a little bit more than the one that sold for $2,500. And these are two of the greatest players of all time for one of the most storied franchises in the NBA. And so I love this card. I love that they're on-card autos. It is solid from an 8.5 grade perspective. There's no 8s. There's 3 8.5s and a 9.5. So it's a really, really good subgrades. But I've got this. You're going to laugh. 27.75.
Oh man. Okay, I like it.
We're right there.
I didn't think there would be a large dichotomy here, just based upon the last comp. This is sold, a couple times, and again, just like the perception of the players on card, a solid brand with immaculate. It just this should be a card that sells for substantially more than where we're ballparking it. But
agreed.
Okay, we're in lockstep again there. This next one though probably creates some level of variance. My favorite player in NBA basketball history, as our loyal listeners know. Kidding.
Who?
Kidding. 2019.
Oh. I'm like, wait a second.
Select.
What's happening here?
Yeah, I scared you. You're like, did I send the right card or not? We're talking about Zion Williamson. 2019 Select Premier Level Black Disco Prism Rookie, 1 of 1, and PSA 9. The floor is yours, sir.
The floor is mine. I figured that. Look, normally I like to close this segment out with an oddball or a really difficult card to price, and
this is it. Congratulations,
this is no different.
sir.
This is it.
You've done
Thank
well.
Thank you. Mission accomplished.
You're still not getting dinner with Peyton Manning this week, though.
that wasn't on the table anyway, so that's fine. There's a couple variations of this 1/1, which make this even more interesting. And what's crazy is the other variation of this card in a PSA 10, this is a PSA 9, sold for $111,000 back in the peak of 2020. I mean, just an astronomical number for a 2019 Select Premier Black Disco Zion 101. Just monster number at the peak, December 2020, $111K. Keep that in mind when when you can see how this market has shifted and how a player being hurt and gambling on a young athlete can go. It can go the wrong way.
And this was supposed to be the young athlete.
This
didn't matter
was the young
the
athlete.
Sport didn't matter. Like, this was supposed to be the guy.
This is basically the chosen one since LeBron
Yes,
James.
correct.
I mean, that's basically what Zion was. And this specific variation, raw, sold for $20K in August. So before the season started that year, there was a lot of hype that once the season got closer in, he started playing off well in the beginning of the season. That PSA 10, like I mentioned, sold for $111,000. The fact that he hasn't played, everything that's going on with their team, I've got this card at $9,210.
I like it. Boy, this is tough. We're in the same ballpark again, and just my thoughts on this. It's like there's more than 100 different 2019 Select Zion rookie cards. 14 of them are one-of-ones. And you did sell this raw copy back in 2020 August for $21K. It does get a tiny bump now, being a PSA Mint 9, not necessarily in price, but you much prefer the card grade and authenticated.
Sure.
That said, I'm not trying to go down the Zion rabbit hole again. If you've been listening to the first 18 episodes, anytime that gentleman's name is mentioned, it's been an aggressive dump mindset for me. 29 games played so far this season, and hundreds of millions are guaranteed to be captured for him. And I just wonder what the incentive to work is. And that's the difference between the gentleman you referenced, the King, LeBron, just a guy who loved the game. And I get it. Like, Zion, when he's on the court, really fun to watch, extremely efficient. And he's a great player when he's on the court. And you look at that, it's evident,
amazing.
right? Like, through 29 games, the Pelicans had a 90% chance to make the playoffs. Right now, 25% chance according to our numbers. So when he's available, he's good. But as we know, right, the cliche phrase, the best ability is availability. And so far, Zion's been available for less than 35% of possible games in his career. And it's unfortunate because Zion's good for the game, great for the basketball card market, just not my cup of tea. If you look from like the hype beast peak, he's down more than 65%. So I'm actually going to come in slightly below you. It really makes me nervous because, you might have someone saying to themselves, I love Zion. If we can just get him healthy for an entire season, I'm willing to take that risk down here at these price levels, knowing where the upside peak was, right? Like that's ultimately who's going to be bidding on this card. Your number was just under 10, correct?
It was 90. Hold on, pull it back up. I missed that spot. 92.10.
Okay, geesh.
Yep.
Yeah, we are really close. I'm actually below you. I'm in the 8s here. I had a weird value priced in here at 8762. I don't know why I had that number, but that's I did some calculations, and that's the number that spit out. So I'm at 8762 on the Zion 1/1. I think this has the potential to be pretty wonky. Right, like if you said, "Hey, this dies and goes for 5,500," or "Hey, we got two guys that are, trying to be the smartest guys in the market and project health for next season. And we saw the peak that you referenced of the other disco going for, 110. If we hit this right, maybe this can be a $40,000, $50,000 card again. And you get the battle from the two perceived smartest guys in the room. It'll be interesting to see. But ultimately, just an unfortunate situation for Zion when we're sitting here talking about this card at these price levels.
And just to wrap this up, I will be the first guy to cheer him on if he comes back and he's unbelievable. I really enjoy watching him
and he
play.
probably will be.
And
you're just waiting.
I really hope he comes
games
back
later
healthy.
to be picking splinters out of his ass in a suit.
Yeah, exactly. And we've you and I have heard some things behind the scenes about work ethic issues, and some guys got it and some guys don't. And unfortunately, his body style, for him to be successful long term in the NBA, he's got to have that grind and that work ethic. And it's sounding like he doesn't, and that's a big red flag.
Damn, that's a ghost. We're going to highlight a card that hasn't sold in more than a year right now, or is serial numbered to less than 100 copies produced. We're going to talk about why this card is significant, maybe in terms of hobbies or language or just the overall rarity of it all, and why it's considered a ghost.
There's zero red flags about the gentleman that is going to make our ghost segment this week. I don't know if you know this or not, but I am a closet Pittsburgh Penguins fan. Okay, you knew that. Okay.
My first note that I have listed here is this is right up your alley.
Really?
Payne.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah,
we're talking about a 2005 Ultimate Collection Sidney Crosby rookie game used patch auto to 25 in BGS 9.5 condition. This is the only gem mint copy. PSA has never graded one better than a 7. I think we talk all the time about the Ultimate Collection brand being premium, game used, on-card auto, scarce with a print number of just 25. Talk to us a little bit about this one.
Yeah, so this card is actually never sold publicly at auction. What's interesting is that somebody listed this fixed price on eBay back in January for a number way under market value, in my opinion, and it got clipped immediately.
Huh.
So... yeah, it was listed for $10K back in January. For example, a PSA 6 just sold a week ago for $10K.
Yep.
So if that gives you any idea what a Beckett 9.5 Pop 1, none higher, no high grade PSA examples, that shows you what this should really bring. I mean, it's got to be a 25, somewhere in the 25 to 40K range, in my opinion. Just an amazing card, beautiful patch on it. This is, would you say the second best or the best hockey player of his generation? How would you rank? I know he goes down. He goes down as what, like top 10 all time, like high, like he cracks the top 10. So right? I don't know hockey as well as you do.
I'm not a big hockey guy, right? We're wrong guy from Bet the Board. Imparting his take on this conversation, but I will say this, just kind of looking around the landscape, he certainly, I was seeing NHL did some top 100 ratings. I was seeing a couple, like savvy data sites saying he was 10th on the all-time list in their mind. Ovechkin was 11th. What happens if Ovechkin, surpasses Gretzky for the all-time goal list? Will that flip-flop? That conversation actually started becoming a conversation again once Ovechkin won a title. It was really never a conversation at that point. So that's what's really interesting. The Penguins are kind of in a weird situation where they're competitive. They're trying to push for another playoff run, some shoddy decision-making from a GM, and suddenly, like, they're kind of just – they started the season well, and now they're just in this lull. But, to your point, like, I think we know what Crosby is on the ice. He was the number 1 pick in the 2005 NFL draft, and he had this, like, hefty standard to live up to. He's Canadian, right? Like, that's just what they do. Yeah. And he became the youngest player ever to a 100-point season. He's got the 3 Stanley Cups, not just a goal scorer, but a really, really good distributor. And then like 18 years later, just still performing at a very high level. You look at his last season, not the current one, had one of the best seasons ever for a player over the age of 34. if you're a hockey collector or Crosby or Penguin super collector, like this is absolutely on the wish list.
Yeah, 100%. And so the fact that there's a card from 2005 that's actually never, in a Beckett 9.5, we've never seen hit the public auction block. It was obviously an easy choice for the Ghost this week.
Yeah, this I was actually like poking around trying to find some data points on this, and you did a better job locating them than I did. And you start to see like people make some YouTube content like top Sidney Crosby cards of all time or top Sidney Crosby kids sold recently, and it's like this one isn't on there, but I believe it's certainly number 2. You have the Cup, which is like a ridiculous product that kind of becomes the de facto exquisite like brand for hockey. But this has got to be right up there, right behind it for sure.
Trading cards and memorabilia have seen incredible growth as an alternative investment. The company leading the growth, PWCC Marketplace. PWCC Marketplace runs the largest weekly auction of authenticated sports cards, Pokemon cards, comic books, video games, and memorabilia in the world. PWCC Marketplace also has more than 65,000 items listed in their fixed price marketplace that you can make an offer on right now. Head over to pwccmarketplace.com and see why they're the best option for buying and selling trading cards, memorabilia, and all of your collectibles. So we doing this or are we doing that? You tell me and we'll tell you. We're going to compare 2 cards right now with similar value that are completely different. Let me give you an example. Let's just say for argument's sake, you have a vintage Mickey Mantle baseball card worth $30,000. But you also have a modern day Joe Burrow rookie card worth $30,000. Which one would you rather have and why? You tell us, we're going to tell you right now.
Another interesting battle this week in this or that. And I like where you went because it's 2 cards in a very gettable price point for a lot of people in that mid $3,000 range. Yep. One GOAT, one player that very much feels like Mike Trout before Mike Trout and Ken Griffey Jr. We're talking about a 2003 Exquisite Collection Extra Dual Michael Jordan patch out of 25 and PSA 7, and then a 2020 Topps Dynasty Gold Ken Griffey Jr. MLB Logo Man patch, 1 of 1 in PSA 8 grade, both recently sold, again, in that mid $3,000 price point. I will let you go first picking out your choice, and this one's intriguing to me.
Yeah, this one was tough. Like you mentioned, the Griffey sold for about $3,600 a week ago. It is a horizontal card. It has the ML in the patch. It's the MLB logo with the letter A, so it looks like maybe it came from a tag. It's not like a logo man like the NBA per se, but beautiful Ken Griffey Jr. autograph, which he has one of my favorite autographs of all time. It is a 101, graded PSA 8, but it's a 101, so the grade doesn't matter too much. But this card is an example of why I hate that I can't bid in our auctions. I mean, it's one of those cards that I didn't know I wanted until I saw it. It's just a sweet card, and hats off to whoever designed this thing, because it's known that Griffey cards where he's wearing anything Cincinnati sell for less than anything Mariner, but they made the picture black and white here, so his hat being just gray basically doesn't take away from the card. If it was a red Cincinnati, I think it would actually hurt this card more. If it was a colored Mariners hat, it would help. But they made his image black and white. The rest of the card has gold, and there's color on the obviously on the logo. So the rest of it looks amazing. But it's a gorgeous card, and I think the way they designed it was perfect. The fact that he is wearing a Cincinnati Reds hat. Going into the Jordan, I've talked about 03 Exquisite a billion times on this show. This is the gold variation of this card out of 25. It's the extra. I've talked about patches as well. Jordan all black patches that have the red pinstripe through them. I love it. This one has 2 of them. It is just an incredible patch on this card. It's a huge jumbo patch window, non-autographed, but it's 03 exquisite. It is the staple for for basketball trading cards. It's the mecca, right? It's the first big product that ever came out, and it was in 2003, LeBron's rookie year. Graded PSA 7, not the best grade, but doesn't matter as much on this card because of the patch. The patch really sets it apart from any other examples. Love this card. It sold for $34.80 a week ago, so right in the same ballpark. This one was tough. The Jordan checks all the boxes for me. But, like I mentioned, I didn't know the Griffey existed before I saw it. Now that I do, I would have to have it, and I got to go with Griffey.
This is extremely difficult because one of the cards is far superior in terms of looks, and that's the Griffey. It's aesthetically just far more pleasing, and that's not really debatable.
Yep.
And I think we've pounded the table a little bit that, even though this isn't a traditional logo man, baseball logo mans in general are wildly undervalued relative to basketball, right? I mean, we're sitting here talking about a Griffey logo man going for mid 3,000s and a Shea Gilgeous-Alexander just sold for, $250,000. We've also discussed, I think, 3 key things about present day Ken Griffey, and that's why this card gets a little bit suppressed a little bit, and that's that, his hands are going to fall off from signing. He's doing so much of it, and then you have card companies just producing far too much product. In Topps 2020 Dynasty alone, Ken Griffey Jr. has 7 different one-of-ones, and that's just one Topps product that Griffey signed for in the year, right? This also has the red uniform, which you mentioned, not Mariners. Red uniform sell for a little bit less. So that's why this is actually, a really good debate. 2003 exquisite, you mentioned, just the crown jewel of basketball cards with on-card autographs and vibrant, chunky patches. Premium product, first of its kind, LeBron's rookie year, Jordan the GOAT. This obviously doesn't have an auto. The MJ image is virtually non-existent, but it's all about the patch. Absolutely love the black jersey with the red pinstripes. It's actually my favorite jersey that the Bulls ever wore, and actually purchased this jersey, the 50th year anniversary with the gold logo that came with it a while back as a kid. I'm nearly certain my dad actually got it for me. So, here's the problem. As an investor, I think at one point these Jordans were doing 5 figures. And they're not making any more 2003 exquisite basketball. But there's going to be plenty more Topps Dynasty Griffey autographs. So my mind is saying go with the Jordan. The problem is, at this price point, I'm okay being wrong and letting the collector win this battle. It's like the angel and the devil on the shoulder. And at the $3,000 range, I'm okay letting the devil win, which is the collector in this case. And I'm with you. I'm going to go with the Griffey as well. And then the key factor here is if I want to dump this, I got 2 buddies in Clay and Rodney who are Griffey collectors who both collect red stuff. I'll just have them battle it out and maybe get a premium there privately.
I didn't look. I wonder if one of them won it.
Yeah, I wonder. I don't know. I know they were bidding on some big Griffey stuff last night, and I don't think either of the gentlemen did overly well.
It's tough to win.
It's tough to win. It is tough to. You're telling me it is tough to win. There's no doubt about that. Okay. You will be at the Mint this week. If you are in Vegas, stop by, say hello to Jesse, and then
Please do.
You are traveling. You need a much-deserved vacation. So we will be back the week of April 17th. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. Couple weeks off. Likely won't be any shape to record Monday morning after 4 days in Vegas, and then
especially if you hit a jackpot on the way out. I mean, your wife might not see it till Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. I might just stay a couple extra days. What do you know? But we do have a trip that we've had planned for 2 years after that, so I will be out of pocket for a bit. But yeah, we're gonna take a couple weeks off. We'll be back mid-April. And we're looking forward to picking this thing back up.
Make sure you follow Payne on Twitter @PayneInsider. Subscribe to Bet the Board and get notified when new episodes of Cardboard Chat air on Tuesdays. And be sure to stop by pwccmarketplace.com for all your collecting needs.